Hi, I'm Beck and welcome to my March to be read pile. I do have this rule for myself where I'm like, I'm not allowed to carry anything over from the previous month, but I'm only carrying a few things over because I'm a little bit silly. And I was like, I can finish this book in February because it's a February release. Wrong. It came out on the 28th of February and it is the sequel to or the prequel to Priori of the Orange Tree called A Day of Fallen Night, and it is 800 pages long, so it's going to be a very long audiobook, which is the format I'm choosing to go by, and I don't know what it's about, so I can't really give you a synopsis, but I'll link all of the Goodreads links down below so you can go and check them out, because I don't want to know enough about A Day of Fallen Night before I start it, because I didn't know too much about Priori before I started it, and I really enjoyed the world building that Priori set up, and I'm really excited to delve further into the world and lore in its prequel, where there are probably going to be more consistent dragons, which I'm super hyped for. So that one I'm going to try and tackle on audiobook, and then if I end up getting through that audiobook in a decent amount of time, I'm thinking that I'll jump into a reread of a series, because I know this author is working on a sequel series, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic, and I know that it's got characters from this series in that series, and so I thought, oh, I have read this a long time ago. I need to refresh what I know about this series so that I can go on board with what she's writing now, so that I can actually understand what's happening and understand the backstories of the characters, because I've basically forgotten everything. So I'm going to do this on audio as well, and this follows Kel and Lila, and Kel is the kind of wizard that is left over in Red London. So there are multiple Londons, red, black, white and grey, and Kel is living in red, which is a magic infused London, and he has this kind of magic that means he can traverse between them. And so while he's traversing between them and delivering messages for the royal throne, he runs into Lila, I think in white or grey London, and she's a thief. So Lila Bard steals something valuable from Kel, and that is really how their paths collide. And obviously there is a massive story that is brought on after this, but I don't want to talk about it too much because that is really just the little spark that you need to know about going into this. And I always remember the first line, which is Kel wore a very peculiar coat. It's just very infused with magic, with multiple worlds, with those kind of rogue characters like Lila who will take risks and have a moral compass that is not always in line, but I really enjoyed it. And I remember enjoying the rest of the series as well. So I need to revisit them. I need to refresh my memory. That way I'll know what's going on. So at some point I do plan to reread these, but I might need a break from reading A Day of Fallen Night and not need to go straight into another fantasy. But this isn't a very long fantasy, so I might be okay. Who knows? It depends on how bamboozled my brain is. So ultimately I would like to read this too at some point, and I'm getting married at the end of April, so I'm running out of time before my wedding to kind of get things read. So hopefully I can get through this, but we'll see. And then I'm also currently reading Tress of the Emerald Sea, which is a book I picked up in February. It came out in January, and I've said to myself again that I don't want to carry things over, but when I made that rule for myself, I made it so that I wouldn't burn out and force myself to read things. But this is becoming a more organic carryover in the sense that I do want to read it and I am enjoying it. I'm not pushing myself to finish it though. I'm just mentioning it because I think I still will probably be reading it in March, because I'm filming this video at the end of February and I haven't really made much progress. I'm about 20 pages into it. It is thick and it is long, but it actually is quite approachable because the text is large on the pages. So when you're reading it, it feels like you're accomplishing a lot, even though you haven't read a lot either. So I'm going to aim to get through this by the end of February, but I don't know how that will work. So I'm going to put it on my March TBR just in case, because I haven't talked about this book enough and it's a Sanderson release and I'm really enjoying this. I'm assuming that it's going to connect to his other works somehow, but it follows Tress. There is a sea in here that is all green. There's like toxic pollen that comes through down from the atmosphere, and her salty rock, which is like where they live on the edge of the sea, salt kills this pollen. So they're taught very young to drink this tea. That's why Tress loves tea so much. She collects all these different cups from when people go on sea voyages. People are taught to drink this tea to kind of cleanse them so that the pollen can't get in and infect them. It's already a really cool world building premise, but when I find time to read this, I need to sit down at home to do it because I'm not going to take this anywhere. This is too beautiful for me to get scuffed or dropped or ruined when I'm in transit to and from work. So this needs to stay in my house, and that is why I'm struggling to read it quickly, but I'm enjoying it when I get to read it. Then we've got a graphic novel, and I was like, oh, do I really want to start new series this year? But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I just need to start this and see if I like it, and that is Fence Volume 1. I think it is queer and it follows characters who are part of a fencing club, and that is all I genuinely know about it. And I think this will set up enough about it for me to know whether I'm going to like it or not. I'm hoping that I like it a lot though, because it seems like it's got promise. I'm nervous about it because I'm like, does this have hype surrounding it? Will I end up liking it? Will it be my thing? So I really just need to start it because it's really honestly not that long. I don't know why it's sat on my TBR cart for so long when realistically I could knock this over in under an hour. So that's what I'm going to do in March. Then we've got a book that I've been hyped up to read since I hauled it in a recent book haul, and that is Witch Please, which follows Danica, who is a witch sworn off love because of a bad breakup, and she runs into this guy who runs a bakery, and he is a mundane, so he has no idea about magic, and when he falls in love it is 0 to 100, like it's forever for him. But for her, she's had multiple different partners, romances, and she's not really doing the love thing at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see these characters who are kind of opposites get along, and I'm looking forward to that tension and that magical undertone. I'm hoping this is rom-com and cozy fantasy all combined into one book, but I will let you know how it goes. And then back on board for another contemporary. This time it is young adult, which I'm tentative about, but hopefully it's for me, and that is You Should See Me in a Crown, which I got for Christmas. This is a book that follows Liz, and she wants to escape her small town and go to a prestigious college, but to do that she needs a scholarship, and to get a scholarship you need to be crowned prom queen here. So she is going up for prom queen, but she's also in competition with one of the other girls at her school, and I think this is a sapphic romance, which I'm looking forward to. I feel like it's going to be rivals to lovers, which is a trope that I really enjoy, so I will let you know how I go with this, and I'm really hoping that it's just a fast, cute, nice young adult book that I can get on board with, because I've had hit and miss with young adult lately. I'm definitely aged out of the category now, but I think there are a lot of things that I could still enjoy about it, and this is a more newly published book, and I remember seeing it all over BookTube a few years ago, so I hope that I fall in line with that hype as well. And then lastly is another new release, and it is a graphic novel which is about under 300 pages long, and it's called The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill, and this author also wrote The Tea Dragon Society. I think this is just going to be a nice, wholesome understanding of the moon and the sun, its cycles and its responsibilities when it comes to the upkeep of moths, I think. So you now know as much as I do, because it's such a short book and it's got a beautiful cover, and I don't want to know enough about it to spoil it for myself. So I'm looking forward to going into it with an open, optimistic mind. I find that Kay O'Neill's writing is very similar in a sense to Becky Chambers in terms of it being very character driven and very optimistic and existential at the same time. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, and it does come out on the 7th of March, although it is very expensive as well. It's more than $30 for a paperback for me. So I do want to read it in March, but I don't know if I'll be able to afford it yet, so we'll see. I want to pre-order it, I want to buy it, but at the moment it's just on my radar, and I hope that I can get to it because I don't actually physically own it yet. But that is all that I've got on my planned March to be read pile. I might get through more or less books, I'm not sure yet, but let me know what you've got planned for reading in March. Let me know if you are exceeding or undershooting your TBR piles that you're setting for yourself. I'd be interested to know. The motivation from January for me has kind of now worn off, but I'm still really motivated and interested in reading, so that is a good sign. I think I've set myself up for a good reading year, so fingers crossed. But thank you so much for watching this video. I'll come chat to you down below in the comments, and I'll see you at my next one. Bye.